Hey there. Welcome to CyberPulse by Quantum Shield, the podcast where we make cybersecurity less intimidating and a lot more exciting. Every episode, we're diving into the latest digital drama, from sneaky hackers to the coolest defense strategies, all while sharing tips you can actually use. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's navigate this crazy digital world together.
Okay, so you guys sent us some articles about this whole Solarwinds thing, and wow, this one is a wild ride.
It certainly is.
We're talking about digital espionage on a scale that most people probably can't even imagine. So, if you thought hackers were just after your credit card number, think again. This is a whole other level.
Yeah, you're not kidding. This wasn't just some data breach, right? This SolarWinds hack was a carefully planned, incredibly sneaky operation. And honestly, we're still dealing with the fallout today.
Okay, so let's back up a second. For those who don't know, when they hear Solarwinds, they might think, what? Solar panels.
Right, like alternative energy or something.
Yeah. Exactly. But in this case, we're talking about software, and not just any software. This is the kind of software that manages entire IT systems. Think of like the control panel for a spaceship, except instead of a spaceship, it's controlling thousands of computers and all this sensitive data.
And not just any computers. We're talking about government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, the big players. So when their software is compromised, well, you can imagine the ripple effect is massive.
Huge. And here's the really scary part. Almost 18,000 SolarWinds customers downloaded what they thought was just a regular update, routine stuff. They had no idea they were actually inviting a digital Trojan horse into their systems.
It's a classic supply chain attack. And it's a real game changer in the cybersecurity world. Instead of attacking a target directly, these hackers went after a link in the supply chain, in this case, the software update. And by doing that, they were able to cast their net incredibly wide.
So imagine this. Let's say someone wants to target thousands of restaurants, right? Instead of trying to break into each one individually, they go after the food supplier. They slip something into, I don't know, a common ingredient like flour, let's say. That flour gets delivered to all those restaurants.
Clever.
And boom, suddenly they have access to thousands of kitchens, not just one.
Exactly. And in the SolarWinds hack, that flour was actually malicious code. It was hidden inside that routine software update. And get this malicious code even had a name, Sunburst.
Sunburst. That sounds kind of cheerful for something so dangerous.
I know, right? But don't let the name fool you. Sunburst was the backdoor that let the hackers, a group we believe was the Russian-backed Nobilium, basically just waltz right into those 18,000 systems.
Wait, so even antivirus software couldn't catch this?
Nope, they were that good. They basically made themselves invisible.
Wow. That's like having a state-of-the-art alarm system and leaving your front door wide open.
Pretty much. This was some next-level hacking. They knew exactly what they were doing.
It's like they were digital ninjas or something.
Yeah.
Slipping in undetected and just planting these trapdoors everywhere. And what gets me is this wasn't some quick in-and-out job, right?
Oh, absolutely not. We're not talking about minutes. We're not even talking about days. They were in these systems for months, maybe even longer.
A year. Seriously. That's kind of terrifying, just lurking in the shadows like that. Okay, so let's talk victims. Who were they actually going after with all of this?
Well, that's where it gets really unsettling. We're talking major U.S. government departments. Homeland Security, the State Department, Treasury, Commerce. I mean, the list goes on.
Oh, wow.
And if that wasn't enough, they also hit some of the biggest names in tech. Microsoft, FireEye, Intel, Cisco, Deloitte.
Hold on, FireEye, as in the cybersecurity company, the company that's supposed to prevent this kind of thing.
Yep. The irony is pretty rich. I mean, you've got a company that's entire brand is built on being at the forefront of cybersecurity. They're the defenders. And even they got hit.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. FireEye was actually one of the first to detect the breach, not in someone else's system, but in their own.
Oh, man. That's like finding out Fort Knox was robbed with, I don't know, a spoon.
It really exposed how vulnerable we all are. No matter how strong your defenses are, there's always someone out there who might find a way in.
And to think, they were in there for a year. A whole year. That dwell time, the time between when they first got in and when they were finally discovered, that's terrifying. Imagine what kind of information they could have accessed in that amount of time.
It's a scary thought. We're talking about government secrets, intellectual property, financial data. The possibilities are almost endless.
So what was the point of it all? I mean, what were they after? Was it just about stealing data, or was there something more to it?
Well, it's hard to say for sure, but given who they targeted, espionage seems like a pretty safe bet. I mean, think about the value of having access to the networks of the U.S. Treasury Department or a company like Microsoft. The potential for causing chaos, both economically and politically, it's huge.
So this wasn't about some kids in a basement trying to steal credit card numbers.
Not even close.
This was about gaining a strategic advantage, maybe even influencing world events. It's like something out of a spy movie.
Except it's real life. This was about compromising systems, potentially manipulating information, who knows what else. We may never even know the full impact of what they did.
Okay, now I'm really nervous. So after all of this came out, what happened? Did the world just collectively freak out? Or did anything good come from this whole mess?
Well, there is definitely a sense of urgency, but it wasn't just panic. It was more like a wake-up call. Like we all needed to take a serious look at how we were protecting our digital lives. And it really pushed this idea of a software bill of materials, or SBOM, to the forefront.
A what? A software bill of materials? That sounds like something from an accountant's office, not cybersecurity. A what? A software bill of materials. That sounds like something from an accountant's office, not cybersecurity.
Yeah, kind of. Think of it like the nutritional label on your food.
Okay.
It tells you everything that went into that product.
Yeah.
And SBOM does the same thing, but for software.
Yeah.
It lists out every component that went into building that piece of software. So instead of sugar and flour and salt, you're looking at code libraries, operating systems, all those building blocks.
So instead of seeing what I'm about to eat, I can see what's in the software I'm about to use.
Exactly. It's all about transparency. With SBOMs, developers, companies, even everyday users, we can all get a better sense of what's in the software and what the risks might be. Imagine being able to just glance at a software package and see, oh, this thing uses that component that had that vulnerability last year, or this other one. It's known to be associated with some shady stuff.
So are you saying if we had these S-bombs back then, this whole Solarwinds thing, maybe it wouldn't have happened?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. It might not have prevented it completely, but it could have helped us detect that malicious code way earlier. It would be like having someone at the food factory, like a security guard, who can spot that suspicious ingredient before it ends up in the final product.
So at least some good came out of this whole mess.
Right.
This push for more transparency and better security practices.
Definitely. The Solarwinds hack was a major wake-up call for the entire software world.
But those hackers, those Russian hackers, they're still out there, right?
Unfortunately, yes. Nobelium, the group we believe is behind it all, they're still active. And they're not exactly sitting on their hands. They're constantly coming up with new tactics.
So this whole thing, it's not over.
Not by a long shot. It's a constant back and forth, the people trying to exploit systems versus the people trying to protect them, and the stakes just keep getting higher.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about how interconnected everything is these days. All our devices, all our systems.
It's amazing, but also kind of terrifying when you think about it.
It is. And this whole thing really drives home the point that, yeah, innovation is great, but we can't afford to treat security like it's an afterthought.
Absolutely not. The question is, how do we find that balance? How do we keep innovating and pushing boundaries while also making sure that our systems, our information, everything is protected? It's a question we all have to grapple with in this new age of digital everything.
And that is something for all of you listening to think about. We've gone deep on a major cyber attack, looked at its lasting effects, and even gotten a glimpse into the future of cybersecurity. It really is a topic that demands our attention, our vigilance, and maybe even a little healthy paranoia in today's world.
Well said. Staying informed is the first line of defense.
That's right. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for hanging out with us on CyberPulse. Remember, cybersecurity doesn't have to be scary. It's all about staying sharp and a little bit savvy. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't let those cyber gremlins get you down. Catch you next time. And until then, stay safe, stay smart, and keep crushing it online.